Jakaira Triplett was 24 years old when she accepted a marriage proposal from Julian Goode-Wallace, a man she'd been dating and trusted enough to build a future with. To the outside world, the engagement was a milestone, celebrated with photos, social media posts, and well wishes. But behind the scenes, something else was happening. Just days after the proposal, Jakaira disappeared. The search began almost immediately. Her family reported her missing when she failed to return home or respond calls. There were no signs of forced entry, no struggle at the last known location, and no witnesses claiming to have seen or heard anything unusual. Law enforcement opened a missing person case, and a public alert was issued. Within hours, the situation escalated. Authorities discovered Jakaira's body near a lake in the Pines in Cumberland County, North Carolina. Her death was quickly ruled a homicide. What started as a disappearance had now become a criminal investigation. Attention turned to a man who had most recently entered the spotlight alongside her, Julian Goode-Wallace. He had proposed. He had taken photos. But he also became the prime suspect. Within days, law enforcement charged Julian with first-degree murder. According to investigators, the proposal may have been part of a calculated plan rather than a genuine step toward a future together. The case raised immediate questions. Was the engagement a cover for something premeditated? What happened between the proposal and her disappearance? And why would someone make a public declaration of love before allegedly carrying out a murder? This wasn't a crime of passion. It appeared structured, timed, and deliberate. As investigators build their timeline and gather evidence, one thing is clear. The proposal was not the beginning of a life together. It was the start of a deadly end. If you enjoy real crime stories that uncover the truth, don't forget to subscribe. Your support helps us share real cases, spread awareness, and give a voice to those who can't speak for themselves. Before we begin, let us know in the comments, where are you watching from, and what are your thoughts as the story unfolds? Welcome to True Crime Uncovered, where we examine the cases that shake communities and expose what happens behind closed doors. Real stories, real people, real impact. Subscribe now and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Jakaira Triplett was a woman residing in North Carolina at the time of her death. She had a modest upbringing and came from a close-knit family. Sources indicate that she was deeply connected to her relatives, particularly her mother and younger siblings, who often appeared in her social media content. Family members described her as dependable and nurturing. She maintained strong relationships with both immediate and extended family, often participating in family events and community gatherings. Jakaira graduated from high school and had attended some college-level courses, though it remains unclear whether she earned a degree. She had been employed in various customer service roles over the years, including work at local retail chains and a short period in home health care. At the time of her death, she was not publicly affiliated with any long-term employer, and no business ventures or formal career affiliations were reported. Online, Jakaira had a moderate presence. Her Facebook and Instagram profile featured personal photos, inspirational posts, and updates on daily life. She was not a content creator or public figure, but she maintained a following of local acquaintances. She was known to engage with community-related posts and occasionally repost content related to mental health awareness and relationships. There are no publicly documented past relationships that contributed significantly to understanding her emotional history. However, those close to her noted that she was careful about who she trusted and preferred to take relationships seriously. Her family and friends describe her as loyal, private, and thoughtful. Jakaira met Julian Goode-Wallace in 2022. Their relationship remained mostly low profile during its early stages. The exact circumstances of their first meeting have not been confirmed publicly, but they were believed to have been introduced through mutual acquaintances or social events in the Fayetteville area. Their relationship lasted approximately 2 years before the fatal incident occurred. Julian Goode-Wallace, also known in various records as Julian Goode, is 26 years old. He resided in Cumberland County, North Carolina. Public records do not show an extensive criminal background prior to this incident, though local social media chatter alleged controlling behavior in prior relationships. No formal legal complaints have been linked to him before the current case. Information about Julian's family background is limited. He was reportedly raised in North Carolina and had intermittent contact with his relatives. He did not maintain a strong online presence involving family, and little is known about his childhood or early life outside of brief references from acquaintances. Julian was employed off and on, with temporary jobs in manual labor and warehouse services. His financial status was unclear, though some neighbors claimed he frequently borrowed money and struggled with long-term employment. There is no public record of business ownership, major assets, or long-term leases in his name. Reports and social media activity suggest Julian had at least one prior romantic relationship that ended under questionable circumstances. However, none of these were reported to authorities or publicly documented in legal filings. People who knew Julian described him as quiet, but some women who had interacted with him later stated anonymously online that he could be emotionally manipulative. His social media behavior was sporadic. He maintained a Facebook account but rarely posted. Most of his online activity revolved around liking photos, commenting minimally, and posting selectively, often only around holidays or birthdays. After his engagement to Jakaira, he shared a post celebrating the proposal, but activity ceased shortly thereafter. There are no widely reported statements from coworkers or neighbors aside from unverified social media threads describing him as off or distant. No employer has publicly commented on his behavior. Jakaira and Julian began dating in 2022. Initially, the relationship appeared stable, with infrequent public appearances or social posts. They were not known as a high-profile couple in their community. Most of their relationship occurred in private settings, with minimal online exposure. By early 2023, more frequent joint posts began to emerge on Jakaira's Instagram account. Photos showed them attending outings, spending holidays together, and visiting local restaurants. Despite the increase in public visibility, there were no known statements from either party confirming long-term intentions at the time. According to friends, the relationship included occasional disputes, but nothing that raised serious concern. There were no documented breakups before the engagement. However, after the proposal, some individuals came forward anonymously to claim they had witnessed tense arguments between the two, often over phone calls and messages. These claims have not been verified. In the weeks leading up to the proposal, Jakaira appeared more active on social media. One friend claimed she was uncertain about the relationship, but didn't want to speak publicly about it. Posts before her disappearance included quotes about trust, loyalty, and new beginnings. These have since drawn speculation as possible signs of inner conflict. Messages between her and close friends hinted at emotional exhaustion and uncertainty. Screenshots shared online by friends suggested she may have been trying to distance herself emotionally, but again, this was not widely known at the time. Julian proposed to Jakaira in June 2024. The exact location of the proposal has not been officially released, though photos were posted to both of their social media accounts. The images showed Jakaira wearing a ring, smiling alongside Julian. Captions included phrases like, "Forever starts now," and "She said yes." The proposal was shared just days before Jakaira went missing. Family members expressed surprise at how quickly the engagement occurred. Some believe it was unexpected, while others thought it was a distraction or strategic move. There is no evidence that wedding plans were underway. The ring has not been authenticated publicly, and it's unknown whether it held real monetary value. Following the engagement, no further posts were made by Jakaira or Julian. Within days, Jakaira stopped responding to messages. Friends initially believed she was taking a break from social media, but after several missed check-ins and calls, her family reported her missing. The time between the proposal and her disappearance was less than 2 weeks. Investigators have not revealed whether Julian had already begun planning her murder before proposing, but the timeline has led many to conclude that the proposal was used as a distraction or manipulation tactic. Authorities have not confirmed whether the ring was purchased with his own money or if it had been borrowed or acquired by other means. No official documentation of wedding preparations or registry entries exist under their names. In early January 2025, Jakaira Triplett was last seen on January 4th, walking with her fiancé, 26-year-old Julian Goode-Wallace, outside an apartment complex on Tamarack Drive in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Witness accounts note she wore casual attire, jeans, a dark jacket, and sneakers. Those with her say her demeanor was normal, and no indication of distress was reported publicly. Her final known communication occurred late the evening prior, a text to a close friend saying she would be home soon. After that, no further calls or messages were exchanged. When she didn't return or reply the next morning, family members raised concerns and reported her missing shortly before 8:45 a.m. on January 4th, prompting an immediate police investigation. Police began by canvassing the complex, interviewing neighbors, and reviewing surveillance footage. Families shared her photo and last known location across social media platforms. Flyers were distributed in the community, and a coordinated search was launched, including volunteers, local churches, and civic groups. Alerts were also issued through Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter under missing person protocols. At 8:45 a.m. on January 4th, officers responded to a missing person call at the Lake in the Pines apartments. Inside one of the units, they found a woman with fatal injuries, later identified as Jakaira Triplett. No other residents were present. The crime scene was secured immediately. Her body exhibited clear signs of trauma. Specifics weren't publicly detailed, but the medical examiner ruled the death a homicide. While the precise cause of death, e.g. blunt force, gunshot, stabbing, was not released, officials emphasized that evidence indicated deliberate violence. Following identification, her family was notified at the scene. According to the victim's brother, Paris Austin, the family drove in from Virginia and joined law enforcement when her body was located. He reported hearing the screaming of my mother upon confirmation of her identity. Investigators immediately focused on Jakaira's fiancé, Julian Goode-Wallace, as he was the last confirmed person to see her alive. Detectives issued warrants for his arrest on charges of first-degree murder following an intensive investigation by homicide detectives. Julian was located and arrested without incident on January 5th in the Santa Fe Drive area. He was taken into custody and booked at the Cumberland County Detention Center, held without bond. Authorities have not confirmed whether Julian cooperated with police or exercised his Fifth Amendment rights. However, law enforcement obtained forensic and digital records linking him to the death. Investigators reportedly analyzed phone GPS data to verify his location on the morning of January 4th. Text message logs demonstrating communication patterns between them. Social media check-ins placing them together just before she disappeared. Surveillance footage reportedly shows Julian entering and exiting the apartment building alone after Jakaira's disappearance. Authorities may also have uncovered searches indicating planning or intent, although details have not been publicly confirmed. The timeline established by police indicates the murder occurred within hours after their proposal photo and post on social media. Raising speculation the engagement was used strategically. No official motive has been released. However, investigators are exploring several possibilities. The timing, proposal followed by murder, suggests a potential pattern of dominating behavior. Detectives are evaluating if other relationships factored into escalating conflict. The absence of clear financial benefit, e.g. insurance, shared assets, leaves the scenario less substantiated. Analysts note the engagement's public visibility may have functioned as a cover or a way to deflect immediate suspicion. Mental health factors or past psychological trauma are being considered, though no professional psychiatric records have been disclosed. Friends of Jakaira and acquaintances of Julian on social media allege that the couple experienced emotional volatility in recent weeks. Forum users shared overheard arguments and described Julian's behavior as quiet yet manipulative. However, none of these claims have been verified with official statements. The case has drawn significant public attention in Fayetteville and beyond. Coverage from local news outlets like ABC 11 led to posts and comments expressing shock, disbelief, and demands for accountability. On Facebook, dozens of tributes and Justice for Jakaira campaigns appeared in community groups. On TikTok and YouTube, the story spread through true crime summaries. One titled, "She was happy to be proposed and not knowing he had sinister plans," echoes the engagement's dark context. True crime forums like Lipstick Alley question relationship patterns under pseudonyms. She seemed to support his weird habits. What did she see in this man? No large-scale vigils or protests were reported, but candlelight shrines and social media hashtags like #JusticeForJakaira surfaced locally. January 6, 2025, Julian made his first court appearance, charged with first-degree murder. He entered a not guilty plea, common in early hearings, set at no bond due to severity and risk factors, centered on forensic evidence, GPS data, digital communication, and surveillance footage, undisclosed at this stage, likely to challenge evidence validity or claim lack of intent. A trial date has not yet been made public. If convicted, Julian could face life imprisonment without parole under North Carolina statutes. Capital punishment is not currently sought. He remains in Cumberland County Detention Center pending trial. Since the confirmation of Jakaira Triplett's death, her family has taken multiple steps to keep her memory alive and push for justice. Her mother and close relatives began by coordinating with local authorities and community leaders to ensure her case was not overlooked or delayed in the legal system. They organized and participated in vigils held across Cumberland County, particularly near Lake in the Pines where her body was discovered. These public gatherings were used to bring attention to the circumstances of her death and to maintain pressure on investigators and the district attorney's office to move the case forward without delay. In the weeks that followed, the family launched an online fundraising campaign through GoFundMe. The funds were intended for legal assistance, funeral costs, and future initiatives in Jakaira's name. As of July 2025, the fundraiser had surpassed its original goal. Proceeds were partially allocated toward a scholarship program under development, intended to support young women pursuing careers in counseling and social work, though the scholarship has not been formally launched. Several family members gave interviews to local news stations and crime-focused podcasts. In these interviews, they consistently highlighted their disappointment in early police response times, voiced concern about potential delays in trial proceedings, and emphasized the need for transparent updates from law enforcement. They have publicly criticized certain legal motions filed by the defense, including requests for additional psychiatric evaluations and venue changes, which they view as stalling tactics. Community support has been consistent. Multiple social media pages were created in memory of Jakaira, attracting thousands of followers. Posts include crime updates, quotes from family members, photos, and shared memories. These platforms are also used to call attention to domestic violence awareness and share tips on recognizing abusive relationship patterns. The family has been open about their grief and long-term trauma. In public statements, they have emphasized how her absence has disrupted the household structure and personal well-being of surviving members. They've also acknowledged receiving counseling support and have encouraged others in similar situations to seek mental health resources. Despite the arrest of Julian Goode-Wallace and the filing of murder charges, several critical questions remain unanswered. First, it is still unclear whether anyone else was involved in Jakaira's death. Investigators have not confirmed if Julian acted alone or if any individuals assisted in planning, transporting, or covering up the crime. No additional arrests have been made as of this report, but the investigation remains open. Second, the time of death has not been precisely established. While authorities estimate the window based on her last known communication and discovery time, no official forensic timestamp has been released. Furthermore, the exact method used to commit the murder has not been shared publicly, as the autopsy results remain sealed under court order due to the ongoing legal process. There are also discrepancies in early investigative findings. For example, rumors about a second crime scene or items found at Julian's residence have circulated online, but police have not confirmed or denied those reports. Law enforcement has chosen to limit their statements until trial proceedings commence. An important area of concern is whether early warning signs were missed. Friends of Jakaira have suggested there were subtle red flags in the months before her death, including controlling behavior, increased isolation, and changes in communication habits. However, none of these signs led to formal intervention. Jakaira never filed a restraining order or made a police report. Experts and advocates in domestic violence prevention have questioned whether this crime could have been prevented through earlier detection or support. Some have pointed to gaps in education, lack of outreach, or barriers that prevent victims from speaking up or leaving dangerous relationships. While hindsight offers clarity, It remains unknown whether legal or social support mechanisms would have changed the outcome in this case. The case highlights several public safety lessons, particularly in the context of intimate partner violence and psychological manipulation. One key lesson is the importance of identifying warning signs in abusive or manipulative relationships. These signs can include sudden isolation from family and friends, control over daily activities, emotional degradation, and rapid changes in affection or behavior. Although these indicators can be subtle, they often appear over time and should be taken seriously by observers. Another lesson involved the role of digital communication. Tracking message patterns, call log, and social media interactions can help friends and family members recognize when something is wrong. In Jakaira's case, several friends noted shifts in tone and response times during her final weeks, but these signs were not acted on immediately. Monitoring such changes can be a useful tool in prevention efforts. Family and friends also play a critical role in detecting red flags. Checking in regularly, creating safe spaces for disclosure, and maintaining open communication lines are all essential practices. Encouraging open dialogue about relationships, including topics like boundaries and red flags, can reduce the stigma that often silences victims. Additionally, this case exposes limitations in legal protections. Restraining orders, while important, often require a clear and provable threat before they are granted. In many cases, victims may not feel safe initiating these legal steps until it's too late. Furthermore, public declarations, such as engagement announcements, can mask underlying dangers and mislead observers into thinking a relationship is safe or ideal. The ongoing emotional toll on Jakaira's family is substantial. Her mother has reportedly experienced declining health due to stress, while younger relatives have required academic accommodations and therapeutic support. The family continues to advocate for systemic changes to help others avoid similar outcomes. The case has sparked significant online discourse about relationship safety. Hashtags like #JusticeForJakaira and #SayHerName have circulated across platforms such as TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. These posts often include advice for young women, quotes from Jakaira's family, and educational content about psychological abuse and coercive control. Although no formal legal changes have resulted from this case yet, advocacy groups have begun citing it in public awareness campaigns. Discussions around mandating relationship safety training in schools, increasing funding for victim support hotlines, and expanding access to emergency protective orders have gained traction locally. Jakaira's legacy continues to evolve. The family's planned scholarship initiative may serve as a long-term monument to her life and values. Additionally, her story is becoming a reference point for online educators and advocates working in the domestic violence prevention space. If you found this story as gripping and heartbreaking as we did, don't forget to like this video and share it with others. And if you want to hear more true crime stories that uncover the mysteries behind these tragic events, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell. You won't want to miss our latest stories, updates, and discussions. Thank you for joining us on this journey to seek justice and explore the truth. Together, we can make a difference. Until next time, stay safe and stay aware.